Welcome to the latest update of Evo Diaries, and welcome to a pretty soggy Italy. We're here to drive the Ferrari 296 Speciale, which is a car we've been desperate to drive since they announced it earlier this year. You've read the specs, you've read the stats, but suffice to say, it has more power, it has less weight, it has more performance, it has more downforce, and it's 2 seconds a lap quicker around Fiorano than the 296 GTB. But what Ferrari say is that it's also about the things you can't measure, but the things that you feel that this car really delivers on. We've got a morning on the roads and an afternoon in Fiorano to find out whether that's the case. Looks-wise, the Speciale is defined by its new aerodynamic package. At the front, there's a more pronounced splitter and a so-called aero damper, similar to that seen on 296 Challenge and GT3 race cars. The tail features what Ferrari call gamma wings, which are those boomerang-shaped sections rising up from the flanks and curving over the rear deck. There's also an active gurney-style flap, which rises in 2 stages for increased rear stability. Together with numerous underbody elements, the aero package delivers a peak of 435 kilos of downforce at 155 miles an hour. That's 75 kilos up on the 296 GTB. As you can imagine, when I pulled the curtains open this morning and saw raindrops on the window, I was pretty disappointed. But everything I've experienced so far in the Speciale suggests it lives up to its name. And what a name that is. You look back to Ferrari's kind of track-biased cars from Challenge Stradale and Scuderia and the 458 Speciale. They're all very evocative names, so it's a big reputation to live up to. Like all modern Ferraris, this is a hugely complex car. It's well over 860 horsepower now, so around about 60 up on the regular 296 GTB. Weight-wise, it's about 60 kilos lighter. We reckon that'll equate to about 1550 kilos. Significantly lighter, and compared to most cars these days, genuinely light. There's more than a hint of the F80 in the 296 Speciale's powertrain. For starters, it sounds louder and richer thanks to a new acoustic ducting system. It also uses the same pistons and conrods and features a new crankshaft. Titanium fixings and extensively machined crankcase castings contribute to a 9 kilo weight saving from the engine alone. Power is up by 36 brake horsepower, with a further 13 horsepower gain from the hybrid system, which now features a new qualifying mode. I mean, there's obvious comparisons, aren't there? Is this car a baby F80? That's probably a bit of an ask, but certainly as a road car, it has the same hallmarks. It seems to work really well on the road. It's running on updated Michelin Pilot Cup 2s, so using new materials and new construction. The engine is that bit more exuberant. They've worked hard to bring more sound character out of the engine. It's got that kind of raw, raucous noise that you only get from this V6. Other things you feel in this car straight away, you feel the difference in the suspension. They've stiffened it up by a handful of percent on the springs, and they've reduced the roll by about 13%. But it's something you tend to feel at all times. The car just feels that bit more taut and that bit more flat and that bit more direct and connected, and that's saying something when you're comparing that with a regular GTB. There's a choice of semi-active dampers, which is what we're driving on this car, and there's a fully passive system as an option, which we'll be driving at Fiorano. Interior really is fab. It's not radically different, but there's just an uplift in the atmosphere and just a sense of occasion. So these one-piece carbon door cards look and feel really, really nice, but there's soft touch elements to it as well. So the grab handles are Alcantara, dash is Alcantara. These seats in this colour particularly are fantastic. They're really supportive, but again, there's a little bit of squidge in them and they just seem to sit at a nice angle. Steering wheel is not quite as lovely as the F80, but that's picking holes really. It's a really brilliant environment to drive in. Visibility is great. You get terrific hints of the aero changes and the styling changes. You get those little winglets at the rear and the vents at the top through the windscreen. So the whole thing just reminds you that you are in something a bit better. Ride-wise, it's pretty firm. These aren't great roads. They get lumpier and lumpier every year. But there is the bumpy road button, which is another little bit of genius with the Maranello. So you can just take the edge out of the ride, and it actually, in these conditions, it helps settle the car a little bit more. From wet onwards, so you get to sport. Sport, again, is very, very trustworthy in these conditions. Never really lets the car get out of shape, but you get more throttle. If it's wet, I would say race is the limit. But yeah, to all intents and purposes, this car is defined by its systems, and the systems help you get the best from the car without taking any risks. So despite the weather, it's been a really interesting morning, exciting morning, fun morning, but it's time to head back and have our session at Fiorano, which is where I think, if the weather's on our side, we'll really unlock the full performance and the full experience of the Speciale. So we have 2 lots of 4 laps to try and get to grips with the Speciale. This car differs from the road car we drove this morning in so much as it's running on multimatic dampers, passive dampers, not like the semi-actives. You can feel the stiffness in the car. We're running on Cut 2 tyres, not Cut 2Rs, which I thought we may do, but the 2s are as we ran this morning. On the road, it's a surprisingly civilized car. I think the combination of hybrid and turbo means you don't quite get that rawness that you would do with this car's namesake, the 458. But bloody hell, it's quick. It's just relentlessly fast. You get so much push out of the corners. You get this kind of battery overboost effectively for little chunks of time, two seconds a hit, when on the rare occasion you can manage to get full throttle. The thing that blew my mind about F80, and some of that tech has been carried over to this, is the ABS Evo system, which allows you to brake so deep and pull so much lateral load while you're doing it. It really does unlock another dimension of performance into a corner. Another thing I love about this, and is also reminiscent of F80, is the gear shift. Woohoo! They've worked really hard to squeeze a bit more from the battery. It gives you a little extra punch on the upshift, and you get that brilliant just sense of even more urgency. It really is extraordinary how well this copes with all this torque going to the rear axle. It's a pretty wild ride, but it's a lot of fun. You use the systems, but they don't take the life out of the car. It feels alive under you and in your hands. Hey! Wow. So, cool down lap. This car has such surprising civility on the road, even when deploying as much performance as you can, but wow, when you fully uncork it, it feels small and agile in a way that the bigger cars, so SF90XX and F80 don't. It feels a little bit more conventional, I think, in that sense. The weight is probably around 50 kilos, I think, once you subtract the weight savings and you allow for the spec of the car with all the lightweight components that can be fitted. So 1550 is pretty good, and when you think it's got the best part of 900 horsepower, it gets on down the road. You just push and push, and you lean on it, and it tells you where perhaps you're working towards its limits or over the limits. We've yet to really fully experience what it can do on the road because of the conditions, but we've now bookended this morning with this afternoon's track work, and crikey, it's a very exciting and very fast car.
The completeness of the Speciale's performance gains means it's not the extreme machine some of you might have been hoping for. However, headbangers amongst you will be pleased to know there are whispers Ferrari's working on something more hardcore, an XX perhaps, but exciting though that is, our time in the Speciale suggests it will be the sweet spot between the GTB and whatever the rumoured more extreme 296 turns out to be. What connects this Speciale to its famous forebear is that its improvements are equally impressive on road and track, and as focused on feel as they are on measurable gains.